My name is Oyebola Oyediran. I was born 1975, July 24th, to be exact, by Reverend Mother Mary Oyediran and Mr. Oyebola Oyediran of blessed memories. And amazingly, I remember that there was a revelation about my birth in 1974 when my mother went in trance. Also on the day of the, do we call it descension or what? When she was descending and she was to break the trance, somebody went into trance, breathing, and saw a revelation that a child is beside her, descending along with her, and that she's going to give birth to a son, and that the son will be the one to walk with her in the ministry. So, and that will be him. So, 1975, the revelation came to pass. But then, my mom and my dad were Muslim. So, my dad was still practicing actively, and my mother has been, converted. So, in the morning, the Muslim came to christen me, and they named me Kazim. And in the evening, the Christian came and they named me Peter and other names. So that gave a slogan while I was growing up, Kazim Lao, Peter Wilale. So I grew up to the hands of I was giving back to a prophetess. I started my early life in the church. I was always on the altar, so I grew up in the church. I'm a drummer, I'm a singer, and I did that on and on, till I went for my tertiary institution. So I went to Ibrahim Nursery and Primary School, 1990 to 1986, then St. David's, 1986 to 1992. And I went to Baptist Secondary School to retake my work before I gained admission to Osun State College of Technology, Oscotech, SRK, for my OND in quantity surveying. Then I proceeded to the Polytechnic Ibadan for my HND in quantity surveying as well. So that has been the pattern. So my life revolved through church, and I remember when I was in SLK, I was partly involved in the student unification, CNS student unification SLK chapter. I'm one of the founding members, and we thank God for what the Lord did in my life. I remember it was in SLK that I gave my life to Jesus. Every 5 in my life is very important. I was given birth to in 1975. In 1985, I went to my first trance. In 3 days, in 1995, I gave my life to Jesus. In 2005, I got married. In 2015, I got admitted to seminary. So in 2025, I'm celebrating my 50th birthday. So every 5 in my life, every 10 years of my life has always been a renewal of greatness and lifting up. So I remembered when I was 10 years old, I went to the first trance. It was rare that you see a child of 10 years old going to trance, and that was 3 days. And 3 days of no water, of no food, of nothing. And I remembered through the testimonies of people that all the prophecies that the Lord said through me came to pass immediately. So that has been, the movement right from my childhood. I've been a church person. Most of the pictures, in church, I'm always on the altar or in the choir store. If you don't find me on the altar, very close to my mom, the revelation about the son coming to walk with you has been manifesting right from my childhood, and that is what we're having today, to the glory of God. So I went to SLK. I was there, But amazingly, I was also a member of Kegites. And in the history of Kegites, I served as HOD drummer for 2 years. You know, it's rare that we serve for 2 years. So I did for 2 years consecutively. So until 1995, when we had a convention at the CNS Student Fellowship, and then the preacher for that day was Apostle Shiri Koka, the immediate pastor shepherd in charge of CNS Movement Surulere Youth Fellowship. So he ministered on vessels I can never forget. And you know, and that message made me to discover who I am. You know, so I retraced my step. Now I made a decision that I will never go to the shrine again to beat, because in that message he said, define yourself. Who do you think you are? What are you doing with your gift? Who are you making use of your gift for? You know, so all those questions began to run in my mind, and I made a decision right away that from that day I will live my life for Christ, you know, and that has been the beginning of discovering myself. So, you know, one thing is to be born into Christian life. One thing is for you to rediscover who you are in Christ and make a personal decision. I used to say this, you know, becoming a born again is not being born into Christian life, but making a decision by yourself that you just want to live a godly life and you want to give your life to Jesus. And ever since that time, I have never been going back. I went back to Poly Badon. I was going on with my life. I joined the Junior Chambers International. I was very active, you know, and on before I finished, and I went to Abuja for my youth service corps. You know, I graduated in 1999. I served in Abuja year 2000, and I was in Abuja for about 5 to 6 years, and I was actively involved in the choir department of CNS Movement Church. Firstly, Gariki now Durumi, and I remember that I roofed Durumi during the leadership of Special Apostle Oshoro. Then I was the youngest in the building committee then. So I remember that when I joined the choir, it used to be choir night. I would work with my brother then. We used to call him Evangelist Ezekiah. Kolawole, you know, very supportive boss, you know, choir master, and very, very versed in the Word of God. So I worked with him and I gave some ideas, and he loved it and he accepted it. That was how we started the choir night, all night, instead of the evening of Saturday. So we do on Friday night. And I remember that I was actively involved in the youth fellowship too. My life has always revolved around church. Yeah. So I worked in Lento, you know, 2000 to 2003. So 2003, I realized that I'm not too fulfilled with what was going on. I dropped the job. I was to travel to London 2003 with this passport. Then 2003, and I booked my ticket with British Airways. And in my sleep, I've been to the airport. In my sleep, in the night to the departure, the Lord spoke to me that if you use that passport, that traveling document, I will disown you and you'll never succeed in life. So the following morning, I just went to the person that is helping me that I'm not traveling again. It's not the wish of God for me to travel with that passport. That was not his plan for me. So that was how I dropped it. Though I was being pushed by the revelations, I was hearing from front, back, left, and right that you'll be well traveled. But most often when we were told, or when a prophecy is being revealed to us, it doesn't mean it will start immediately. There are processes one has to, go through. I never wanted to go through that process. I just want the prophecy to come to fulfillment. So I was running after shadow, not knowing that it wasn't the right time for me to even travel. So, and for almost 21 years, it kept me away from London, until when it was time for me to travel. I moved from Ibadan to SLK to Abuja, for my youth service. I've always been at the back door, in all of those places. In SLK, I was a choir master. I was not involved in the prayer ministry or the word ministry. I love music. And also in Abuja, in CNS Movement Church Abuja, many of them up till now still don't believe that I could become a pastor, or talk less of even heading or leading a church, because I've always been in the music department, But this thing is in me, it's gift, is from God. I don't want it. I want to believe that the reason why I've not been manifesting it is because I never wanted it. I just don't want it just because of the what my mother went through, that those things were, they were evident to us, we saw it, we knew about it, and I never prayed to pass through those challenging periods, so I hardly, it's rare that you see me that I'll be a pastor. Very, very rare. I even did music. I started robot music, and I married my wife into robot music, I think I remember that I registered robot music October 2004, and I got married 2005, so I've always been wanting to do music and every other thing, not pastor. But as I ran away from it, destiny kept on taking me to the altar. So when I came back, I remember 2004, my mother, with the coalition of my sisters, Sister Nike and Bra Kolade, called me in Abuja that it's time you have to come back to Ibadan, because my mom has always been singing the song into my ears that you are the one that will take over after me. She just said slightly, it's never a good news, taking what over. So 2004, I think sister called, Brakolani also called that, mommy has been tired, she needs help, you have to come down, you have to come and give her support. I never knew it was a coup, so I came to support. I never wanted to see my mom struggling with anything, because she's been everything to me. I think I forgot to say this. I lost my dad in 1983. I was 8 years old when my dad died. So, she's been there. She never remarried, and we never suffered in her hand. So I can't hear that my mom needs my help, and I will not rise to that clarion call. So, due to who she was in my life, I quickly, started packing all my stuffs. So it was a difficult one, because I was making good money in Abuja. I started making millions at the age of 26. So leaving that environment to Ibadan, Abuja is nothing to compare with. But because of the love I had for my mom, I just have to oblige. So I came. So amazingly, I planned my wedding to that time. That was when I got married to Oyebola Oyediran, So me too. So when I came back, I found myself doing the work. That was the year my mom resigned preaching, 2005. That was the year I started the pastoral ministry. That was the year I started taking care of the church in the area of management, organization, preaching, programs, and what have you. So Mama was taking care of the spiritual aspects, and some of the leadership. But she relinquished some of the duties to me. I started preaching since that year. So anytime I preach, people are like, wow, what a powerful message. Anytime I prayed, people shared testimonies. And before they started calling me our leader, Pastor. I hated it so much, I don't want it. But the more I hated it, the more I found myself doing it. And nature, circumstances that surround me, confirm that that's the work he planned for me to do. So we took over from the youth to the main church, and we defined some of the programs with the agreement of Mama. because many people believe that the new changes we had in the church is orchestrated by me. No. Mama stopped burning candle. By her decision, she stopped going to rivers. By her decision, she stopped burning incense. By her decision, nobody influenced that. The only thing we made a proposal for was wearing of shoes. We came into church in conference and we discussed it, and she realized that it's not bad, and she approved it. So when we started wearing it before our departure, so many people believe that we started wearing shoe at the only church of Enapo when Mama died. No, we started wearing, and she even wore it by herself. So I started the work. People became so convenient and comfortable with my preaching, with my style of leadership. The church started experiencing growth, and and I just found myself doing it, but I never wanted to become a full-time minister. So I agreed to the fact that I would be doing ministry, but a part-time, not a full-time. So until sometimes 2014 or thereabout, 2014 should be July 2014, we went for a conference in Jogo. Yes, it was Jogo. That conference is named When Worship Without Words, by Just Praise, Pastor Tony Adebile, and Uncle Chief Oladini was in that program. And he said, Pastor, Pastor. And I was like, why is he calling me pastor? He has never been to the church. He is good at seeing visions. People can see vision. People believe you are not a pastor or prophet. There are some people that they have the gift of vision. They ask the pastor. And I look at him amazing. I said, what's wrong with you? And let me say it in Yoruba, because the Prince Oladini is so cool in Ife. So something brought us together. We came from same hometown. And when we heard about that, he so much loved me, and he has always been supporting me. I remember he was at my 14th birthday. And he said, you cannot even wait for me to. You become the pastor, a full-time pastor. And there is nothing you can do to that. It's wrong in my brain, and it was so disgusting that I'm a curious, I'm making money, I'm building houses. It's like you can even run from here to there. God will catch up with you. So that passed away, and few months after, a lady that we shared office in same complex came to me and said, Pastor, the reason why your work is not going fine is because God is not happy with you. You have to make up your mind and enter the full ministry. As at that time, it's becoming a reality to me that, will I drop my works, and then I've been having challenges with my building business. I've not been getting customers, clients, contracts are not coming. I major on roofing and ceiling. It's no longer forthcoming. So I was looking for a way out. I started printing work. From printing, I did event planning. From event planning, then I went into, how do we call this one? Is it hospitality? I did everything, and I named bad things. And on the ring road, I understand where I said that because I was making money. I remember sometimes I travel to South Africa to go and get spices because they know more about barbecue. They don't call it barbecue, they call it braai. So I was just running from pillar to post, just looking for network, not knowing that God was intentional about the reason behind not having a breakthrough through my businesses. I have too many businesses, but I wasn't making headway. So on this day, I realized that God is really intentional about me. So when I realized that, I was standing on it, and He spoke to me that I've given you chances. You've built a house, you've gotten married, you've given birth, you've done so many things, and I gave you chances to do all these things. But that's not the reason why I brought you here to this world. You need to do my work. So that was early 2015. So that was how I came in, and I gave a condition that, okay, if you want me to work, I think that actually confirmed that if you want me to do this work, I want to go for theological training. And I know I'm from the Word background, and other denominations don't really accept us. But I want to go to Baptist seminary that was influenced, through the meeting I had with Reverend Dr. Edward Kialabi, that I would love to go to Baptist seminary. If truly you want me to become a pastor, they must admit me before my birthday, my 40th birthday. And of a truth, few days to my birthday, I got the admission that has been admitted. At that time I spoke to myself that I have no hiding place, no escape route. God indeed wanted me to do this work. That was how I came in, and April 2015, they did my ordination and every other thing, and that was how I started. They did the installation as a church pastor, and that year my mom resigned completely. In fact, that day she cried. I was wondering why was she crying this much. I never knew she was giving me flower and all of the church members, my family, that yes, it is over. Somebody else is coming into her shoes. It was 3 years later that I understood the reason why she was crying that much. So those things gave me the green light that of the truth. I have to do that work because I'm not ready to do what God doesn't have a plan for me. Coupled with the revelations that I've been hearing, preaching, and acceptance from people, then I realized that yes, it is time for me to enter into pastoral ministry. I'm here with thank God. It's so simple. I've spoken to myself, and I promised myself, and I'm promising my mother in her grave. Mostly prophet doing that anyway. So that I would like to keep into a succession plan. Honestly, I would like to keep into a succession plan. She planned it, she managed it, and it came to today. I've been living 13 years before I demise. 13 years. So there's no way anyone could just come up and say, this is what we want. Because she has felt it, she defined it, she laid it out, and she pronounced it. Before 2015, I think it should be 2013, she told me we were preparing for the Founders Day in April. So we needed a sermonist. She now said, Bola, we have gotten a sermonist. Put Peter Oyediran. So I put Peter Oyediran. So a few days to the program, and I went to her, who is this Peter Oyediran? So that I can put a country and get that person ready for the Sunday program. She said, you are the one. You are Peter Oyediran. I was so furious in my spirit that how could you put me as a preacher on the day of the anniversary? So that day came, I put in my best, I preached, and it was awesome to the glory of God. And after that meeting, I remember Reverend Abiliki said, your mother has launched you into the ministry. So she launched me. My siblings are wonderful and fantastic brothers and sisters. Wonderful and fantastic. There is none amongst my siblings that is not spirit-filled. All of us are vessels of God. I would like to say this in Yoruba. Every all of us had the seed of the prophets. We have it. It's inborn. So, and we respect our mom so much. Maybe because of our impact in our life, being a mother and also a father, and the
you.